This week's map adventure took us to Iceland. No, not that Iceland. Iceland, California. No, really, it's true. No, there really is an Iceland, California. Hold the phone. I'll show you. Iceland is a place I've been trying to get to for a long time. So I'm looking through the maps because, I don't have anything better to do with my life in the evenings than to look at old atlases. I don't do that. And to stay home in the evening and look at old atlases is not sad or...
Oops, sorry guys, wrong clip.
Iceland, California? What is this amazing place? Am I gonna find Vikings? One can only hope. Am I gonna find ice in the spring? Probably from around here. Am I gonna find an Encino Man type situation? I don't know what I'm gonna find. All I know is that there's a place called Iceland and it's within 45 minutes of my home here. I'm going. Oh, I'm going hard. But first I have to figure out how to get there. First tried to get to Iceland via the appropriately named Iceland Road.
Flynn Road, which is up here behind me, runs up here. Now this road went all the way from Hinton, Hirschdale to Bronco. By 1851, there had already been a rough wagon road called the Truckee River Road, which was an old, well-beaten immigrant road that was created by the 49ers headed west for a piece of that California gold.
Before the famous gold rush, California was desolate and unknown, and enjoyed a rather quiet existence till early in 1848, when gold was discovered. Towns sprang up overnight. The news spread rapidly, and in 1849, over 100,000 people migrated into the Sunshine State. Some made the hazardous trip, moving swiftly over the plains in covered wagons.
And in 1867, the Central Pacific Railroad was making preparations to lay tracks through the area to finish the final stretch to link California to the rest of the world and finally unite the country. The spot was dubbed Camp 20. First on the agenda for Camp 20, new and improved road, one good enough to be able to support the supplies needed to build the railroad. Mainly it takes lumber, and the demand for lumber didn't end when the railroad was completed in 1868. See, before the use of coal, the steam engines were filled with wood, and it took a lot of wood to keep the locomotives going. In the Comstock alone, the steam engines were using over 100,000 cords a year. And by the time it was over, 600 million board feet of lumber had been used to make and keep all those silver mines running. In 1868, the Central Pacific had completed its quest for world domination, and life got a whole lot easier.
Today, we streak across the continent in such luxurious streamlined trains as the cheap...
As in what used to take 7 months, now could be completed in 7 days. And not to mention a lot cheaper and safer. As a result, all wagon traffic came to a virtual halt, and all of the wagon roads linking the country fell into complete disrepair. Unfortunately, you cannot drive that road anymore. It's currently private property, and you will be shot. So don't try it. We tried it. We hit a gate. I'm not going to say what else happened. So we decided to try our hands on the old Bronco Road, which was an old road from 1875 that had been improved by the Florestan Paper and Pulp Mill Company in 1910. Pressure had been on the paper company to improve the road for a while, as there was an insanely high amount of deaths by train of its workers, who would either beat the train or try their hand at walking on the tracks in an effort to find a quick way into Truckee. And in 1910, they struck a deal with the county and agreeing to build it. However, this road has seen very, very little use since the paper and pulp mill company closed its doors. The bridge is definitely not there anymore. We're kind of stuck here. We hit a no trespassing sign and a gate on the other side and tried to get to Iceland this side, and obviously we are out of luck because there is a creek in the way. So we decided to go the hard way, the bike route on the Pyramid-Tahoe Bike Trail. We are about to go on the Legacy Bike Trail, which is right here. There's my bike, there's Jerry's, there's Jerry. So that we can bike to Iceland. We're gonna stop at Bronco and we're gonna stop at Iceland, which used to be called Cuba. That'll be fun. And we're gonna go see some fun things today. Guys, hi. Made it to Iceland. Didn't know if I would, didn't know if I wouldn't. Wasn't that easy. You can get here. It wasn't that hard if you have a good bike. I don't have a good bike, so that sucked. But what we got right here. So this is really cool. So what we got here is the second best preserved ice pond on the river. You see, if you can see down here, right here behind me, I'm standing right here. This is one of the mini ice ponds that were on the Truckee River. The story of Iceland is really a story about, you guessed it, ice. Ice had begun to be harvested in the Truckee River Canyon as early as 1868, and at its peak saw over 20 separate companies competing for
ice domination.
3 companies alone were known to have operated at Iceland, although it wasn't always known as Iceland. Back in 1875, it was the humble railroad camp dubbed Camp 20. Joseph Gray owned land up his namesake's creek and ran a sawmill. Now, sawmills were big business, but seasonal business. Looking to capitalize on the winter trade, he and his friends formed the People's Ice Company. Now, this was a large operation with capital stock of $300,000. And just like that, Camp 20 was known as Cuba. Now, where we're standing right here was actually originally Cuba. I know, right? Let Fidel know. His land's here. However, it was not communist. Wrong Cuba. No, because of the cubes of ice that were being harvested. Obviously, the ice ponds were created by large timber crib dams at the mouth of Gray's Creek, which helped out Gray because he was the one that supplied the timber for these large ice ponds. And in 1881, they got a neighbor when A.M. Wicks of Bronco formed the Mountain Ice Company. Now, all was peaceful amongst the ice. That is until the Great Ice Wars of 1881 commenced, beginning what would be the first of many, many lawsuits that would commence over the next 40 years or so. But until that time, ice was big business, where it would regularly employ and house a large number of men all winter long. And with them being able to work all summer long on the lumber mills, the Truckee River Canyon was quite the area of commerce. In fact, in 1885, the Mountain Ice Company promised to make a great metropolis in the town of Cuba. Although it wouldn't be Cuba for long, because in 1897, new houses were built along with the newly christened town of Iceland. And the new town of Iceland got itself a post office, had an overland stage stop, a swanky railroad stop, and in 1903, it came into the new era with the big game ice companies, when the National Ice Company bought out the People's Company and the Mountain Company to form a mega company. All was well in the town of Iceland. Its residents were happy. It retained year-round jobs. It had an awesome name. That is until the 1920s, because everything changed in the 1920s. A little tiny invention known as refrigeration and virtually put all ice harvesting to a complete halt in the Truckee River Canyon.
They're really concentrating. What's their assignment?
American history, something about occupations that don't exist anymore.
Want to try it out on me?
Hey, the Iceman. The olden days, the Iceman used to following him to get a piece of ice on hot days. He is a vanished American because no one buys ice anymore.
Very good, but I don't think your teacher will accept that, Harold.
Why not?
Well, the Iceman hasn't vanished. Now, you may not recognize him from that old picture, but he's still very much in business. Automatic vending stations can be found almost everywhere nowadays. And the old-time Iceman, my, how he has changed.
And the fact that it had been almost entirely deforested by the lumber industry, with all that lumber we talked about for the trains and the Comstock and the moving of the ice, there was virtually no jobs left. And in 1923, the Iceland post office had to close its doors and the remaining residents had to move away to where the jobs were.
Best friend that I ever had, I found, is my last dollar. Yes, sir.
What we got behind me here, we got the train, which has been coming through here since 1868.
This train is bound for glory. This train, my Lord. This train is bound for glory. This train, my Lord. This train is bound for glory. All who ride,
200 people lived here.
ride, you must be holy. Lord, 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 Lord.
So back over there, all of that far area, that's where's remnants of houses and things like that.
Lord, 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 Lord. Lord, 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 Lord.
In this ravine right here, we got a log flume. What they would do is they cut the trees from the top of the mountain up here, and then they would float them down the flume here, across here. The freeway was not here, and then it would come through here, float down to the river right there.
This train, my Lord, this train don't carry no liars. This train, my Lord, this train.
The first telegraph station, the telegraph lines actually went to Bronco.
This train don't carry no liars, don't carry nothing but the holy fire. Lord, 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 Lord.
Power plant right here, poles, 200 people, ice pond, industry, big ice houses, flumes, trains, deaths, everything you could ever want right here at Cuba/Iceland, and a train station. It was awesome.
This train, my Lord, this train don't carry no struggle. This train, my Lord.
Get you right here from the top of the road. Got Bronco Creek way down here behind me.
Lord, 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 Lord.
Made it to Iceland, Jerry! Look how excited he is! He is...
We could have parked up there. See that car right there?
Shut up! Shut up!
There's cars parked right there.
So apparently we could have parked right next to where we needed to be, but instead we took a death bike ride. Because that's what we do. Because we did this for you. Because we wanted you to know how awesome this death bike ride would be. I didn't do that for you. I did that.
Nice trail. You got a good bike.
Oh yeah, well I don't have a good bike, so that's why he had to say that.
That was fun. Word to the wise, just make sure you have a mountain bike. This one went on a beach cruiser because, you know, blondes.